Greetings and welcome. If you are just joining, we're going to get started soon. While we are waiting, please take a moment to fill out this brief survey. There's a link in the chat. And also to introduce yourself, name, city, affiliation. We're going to jump in and get started, maybe 2 or 3 past the hour. I don't know about you, but honestly, for me, the Jeopardy theme song always puts me in a good mood. It's just, it's like a fresh spring morning. If you are just joining, we'd love to have you fill out a brief survey and introduce yourself in the chat. The link to the survey is in the chat. Okay, that's enough of the Jeopardy theme song. Greetings and welcome, everybody. So excited to have you here. And welcome to our event, course preview and Q&A for the new hydrogen economy. Our agenda today, we're going to go through some brief introductions. We're going to learn a little bit about hydrogen, and we're going to talk a little bit about the program, the new hydrogen economy. I'm going to talk about some of the structure, course structure and syllabus and so on. And we're going to hopefully have plenty of time for Q&A. And yeah, very excited to learn more about what you folks are interested in and ask plenty of questions to you as well. My name is Sean Drost, and I, along with my esteemed colleague Liz Penny, we will be building the program and facilitating the program. We are longtime educators and collaborators, and my partner in course creation and hydrogen subject matter expert extraordinaire is Nebomir Fleece. And I'm so excited to be creating this program with this guy. If you don't already follow him on Twitter, you should immediately go and do so. You will learn a lot. And I'm going to hand off the microphone to him. He's going to be talking a little bit about why hydrogen, why now.
Hello, everyone. Thanks, Sean, for the introduction. So yeah, let's jump straight into it. I'm going to be talking about why hydrogen, why now. And I'd like to start by telling you about how I found out about hydrogen. And this was on the occasion of my first professional assignment with an investment bank in London. And I was tasked with trying to predict which sort of, in the near horizon over the next 2 or 3 years, which energy storage technologies would make it big. And at the time, hydrogen was part of this portfolio of technologies, but my conclusion was that it's not quite the right time for hydrogen. Fast forward 4 years, and hydrogen is now all the talk. And can I have the next slide, please? Yeah, so hydrogen is now all the talk, and there is. Can you click, please, Sean? There is an article. So recently you saw an article in the Financial Times ran an article that Chile seeks to turn solar boom into green hydrogen bonanza. Then there is the Telegraph which proclaimed that 2020s will be the decade of hydrogen. And then there's also Clean Energy Wire, which recently ran an article saying that Europe will advise with China for clean hydrogen superpower status. And it's not just news it's not just news websites that are talking about hydrogen. There are very serious organizations such as the IEA constantly releasing new reports over the past 12 months, especially. And if you know anything about the IEA, you know that well, if you don't know anything about the IEA, then to introduce the IEA, they are perhaps the most conservative but also influential organization about the energy. So to hear such a conservative outfit start talking about hydrogen was quite a big deal. What's more, the IEA is actually quite excited about hydrogen. And can I have the next slide, please, Sean? Thank you. And yeah, what's really a big deal is that even the IEA is excited about hydrogen. And just earlier today, I was attending the Clean Energy Ministerial in Saudi Arabia. Of course, it's a virtual conference. And I was attending a presentation on green hydrogen by the executive director of the IEA, Dr. Fatih Birol, who I've had the immense pleasure of meeting at one point. And he's a very clever, but a very calm and measured man. So I was extremely surprised to see him say this: I have never seen government and industry agree so much that hydrogen is great. We need 7 times more hydrogen than today, and we need it from electrolyzers. And by the way, for those who don't know, electrolyzers are the devices that split water, that use electricity to split water into hydrogen and oxygen in a clean way. And in the view of Fatih, electrolyzers are ready for the big time. They're here today where solar was 10 years ago. And yeah, can I have the next slides, please? So the IEA, clearly there's lots of excitement about hydrogen. The IEA is excited, various international outlets are excited, journalists are certainly excited, but why is everybody excited? And there are 2 big reasons. The first reason is that the world is getting serious about decarbonization. So for the past 15 years, the world was broadly, the clean energy community was broadly speaking focused on decarbonizing power. Over the past 5 years, the focus has, electric vehicles have also received quite a lot of attention, but the toughest sectors were left alone. And now, as we are approaching, as we have to get to net zero, and then the years keep flying by, we're starting to think about those these hard to abate sectors. And notably, we're talking about heavy industry and heavy duty transport. And it is very fortunate that hydrogen is a very versatile energy carrier. Next slide, please, Sean. And it has many uses. And luckily for us, hydrogen is able to do much decarbonization in those heavy, hard to abate sectors. If produced from electrolysis, it is a clean fit for those hard to abate sectors, and can be a fuel for transport and power. It can be used for heating in industry and buildings, and it can be a feedstock for chemicals and products. However, so why hasn't hydrogen up until hasn't been used before in these applications? Well, classically the problem was that clean hydrogen was expensive. If it was produced through electrolysis, 75% of the cost of electrolysis was actually the power price. So you needed a cheap electricity, you needed cheap and green electricity. And up until today, we didn't really have that. But renewable electricity today is dirt cheap. And this graph from 2019 represents that perfectly. IRENA, the International Renewable Energy Agency, predicted that by 2020, onshore wind and solar would be less expensive than fossil fuel alternatives. So this is the second reason why people are talking about hydrogen today. It is simply becoming as affordable or even more affordable soon than fossil fuel alternatives. Can I have the next slide, please? And of course, this gets people very excited, and people are starting to think really big. think really big and they're starting to make big plans. But some big questions arise when you think big. Um, and clearly, yes, there's great interest in hydrogen all across the world, and we've seen a number of national strategies from all across the world released recently. And we have the EU national strategy, the EU supranational strategy, and within the EU, we have several countries such as Germany, Portugal, Spain, Netherlands that have their own local strategies. We have South Korea and Japan and Australia and New Zealand on the other side of the world. And there's a number of hydrogen strategies that are that are being proposed or under consideration in Canada, Poland, Morocco, the UK, China, and Belgium. And but one strategy out of all these stands out, and that is the EU. And it is at this moment in time, it's indisputable that the EU is a global leader. Now, for the rest of this presentation, I will focus on the for the rest of this on the EU, but I just like to make the point that the entire course that we are offering is has a global scope. Now, moving on. So the EU has a 40 gigawatt target, but what does a 40 gigawatt target mean? And just to illustrate the point of how big the challenge of scaling, reaching that scale is, here's a slide of electrolyzers drawn to scale. On the left, there's the current EU electrolyzer capacity of 58 megawatts. And in just 10 years, the EU hopes to multiply that 700 times. And to achieve this sort of scale, you need a lot of infrastructure, regulation, investments. And there are so many moving elements to this, it is sometimes hard to keep up. So that's part of the offering of this course is to help you bring these elements together in a structured way. Now, can I have the next slide, please? Despite the fact that the EU is hoping to ramp up its local production capacity so much, there's still quite a bit of shortfall as to how much hydrogen will be needed. And just earlier today, the secretary for the energy ministry in Germany was saying that the local capacity in Germany, even those ambitious targets that I just talked about, won't be enough to cover more than 20% of German demand. And Germany and the EU, as a matter of fact, are proposing that the EU imports its green hydrogen from other countries. So that begs the question: are we witnessing the rise of a new globally traded commodity? And next slide, please. Potentially, I mean, there are renewable energy projects springing up all across the world, and there are places in the world which have cheaper renewables than in Germany, which would make the economics of production of hydrogen there attractive. But that only touches upon one base of the whole aspect of the hydrogen economy. And you know, when you see articles like "World largest hydrogen could send cheap green hydrogen from Congo to Germany," you need to start thinking just beyond the production element, and you need to start thinking about, okay, how about the logistics? Okay, how are we going to finance this? How are we going to transport this? Does it make sense to transport hydrogen from Congo to Germany? And can I have the next slide, please? And yes, distributing hydrogen is tricky. Clearly, you probably wouldn't want to truck all 7,000 or 8,000 kilometers from Congo to Germany. Such a long pipeline also would be quite challenging, which leaves you the option of shipping this hydrogen over such distance. And if you're going to ship this hydrogen, you need to know how much additional cost you're taking on when when you're going to build your project, or if you're going to evaluate, okay, is this a feasible, realistic option for Germany? And here's a graph that I built about which shows the levelized cost of hydrogen transport as a function of distance. And broadly speaking, for shipping, the cost stays constant. The distance over distance, the distance actually for the fuel consumption of ships doesn't matter. But if you look at this graph, the cost of hydrogen transport here adds another 30 euros to the price, to the cost of your hydrogen. And and that is over half of the cost. Sorry, that is over 100% of the cost of producing it in Congo. So effectively, if you want to develop a project of Congo, or if you're evaluating the viability of such a project, or if you're considering such a project, well, and you have to consider the whole value chain of this hydrogen, and you will find out that the elements that are intrinsic to transport. So this you need to liquefy this hydrogen, then you need to build the terminal infrastructure, then you need to build new ships. You will find out that over 50% of your final hydrogen cost will be related to this transport. And can I have the next slide? So to bring it back to the headline, you have a headline: cheap hydrogen from Congo to Germany. But the reality is a bit deeper than that. And with this course, we're hoping to show you that we're hoping to give you a bit more nuance, that you understand the cost of production, but you also understand the cost of logistics and the entire support infrastructure that comes with the production element. So thank you. Back to you, Sean.
Thanks, Naomi. Yeah, I want to pause here and well, I just want to call out a couple of things that jumped out at me. I've heard this presentation a couple of times, but one thing that I just noticed in this version of it is in this graph, this about 100 terawatt hours expected hydrogen demand by 2030 in Germany, and this is like I think this is a German ministry document. This is comparable. This is about 25% of the size of the entire electrical grid in Germany today, if I'm right about that. It's a very significant project. And another thing I wanted to call out is, well, I just really love, one thing I love about working with Naomi is he has I think a very good bird's eye view of things, and he's excited and has the goals of the energy transition in mind, but also brings a very careful eye to things. And I think hopefully you get a sense of that from that talk. I want to take some questions from the audience about kind of the subject matter. I'm going to move next up. I'm going to move into talking a little bit more about the program. But if you have questions about Naomi's talk about why hydrogen, why now, I'd love to hear them. I just want to open up the floor. You can just unmute your mic and just jump in and ask questions, or you can post them in the chat. And I see one already from Varun. How clean is hydrogen relative to other energy sources? Naomi.
Okay, yeah, thanks for this question. That really depends on how the hydrogen is produced. There are several ways of producing hydrogen, and the one used today is most commonly 99% of current hydrogen is produced from natural gas, and that process releases CO2. So you have the option of capturing that CO2 when you're doing hydrogen production, but you're still left with approximately 5 to 10% of residual emissions. 5 to 10% of residual emissions. Now, if you're using electrolyzers, the carbon intensity of your hydrogen is dependent on the carbon intensity of the power that's used to power these electrolyzers. And if your power is fully renewable, for 100% renewable, then effectively the hydrogen is 100% clean.
David Wyatt asks, how do the economics of hydrogen transport compare with transport of electricity to local electrolyzers? Nevomir.
The Yeah, well, the conventional wisdom is that molecules are easier to send over large distances than on short distances, and that certainly holds true for hydrogen as well. If you want to transport electricity over 2,000 kilometers at the same amount of, the same power in terms of electricity versus hydrogen, then over 2,000 kilometers, hydrogen will be a much cheaper option. However, if you want to run a 50-kilometer line, then yeah, a 50-kilometer power line, then probably it will be yeah, if you want to run a 50-kilometer power line, it'll probably be cheaper for you to do it with a power line.
So short distances, transport of electricity would make more sense. From Congo
Yes.
to Germany, probably not going to come out comparable. I think the transmission losses, the line losses alone, putting aside for a moment the infrastructure challenges and costs of construction and everything, just the line losses alone, I feel like would be more close to like 60% going across those 4,000 kilometers, 5,000 kilometers. I don't know. I'm just eyeballing, but
yeah. Maybe a bit less than that. But yeah, it certainly would be huge and would be a very costly undertaking. Building such a long line. Yeah, you definitely would get less losses if you were just shipping this hydrogen.
Thank you for the question. Oh, and I'm getting a visit from my young son. How lovely. I think we have time for one more question on the subject matter here. Lawrence asks, what do you think are the biggest weaknesses in the EU's hydrogen strategy? Go ahead.
Very, very good question, this one. I think I think the biggest weaknesses are sort of targeting the hydrogen strategy at the moment really focused on the production side and getting these electrolyzers costs down. And this comes back to one of the headlines we've seen at the very beginning, where Europe vies for hydrogen superpower status with China. The danger here is that China might end up stealing the EU's lunch, as it did with Germany's solar. And instead, perhaps the EU should focus more on developing transport technologies, which are actually the Achilles heel right now for hydrogen. That being said, the EU is focusing on international partnerships. It's just, so the political aspect is there. It's just that I'm not seeing a technology aspect to it yet. The focus is very much on production and on very local distribution, especially in the terms of hydrogen vehicles. But there is the missing link here is a concrete proposal of transmission and long distance transmission and distribution networks.
I know I said that was going to be the last question, but Rikatsi asked a really juicy one. Nevomir, you said that you see green hydrogen's future in the heavy industry and heavy duty transport. Do you include electricity grid balancing and decarbonization of the gas grid under heavy industry, or do you not think there are big opportunities in those sectors? And I just want to go back to, I think this is a great slide from Nevomir's deck.
Yeah, so thank you. Yeah, thanks for this question. Yes, include most certainly. I think hydrogen will play a key role in grid balancing, especially in terms of integrating renewables, which are getting ever cheaper and eating their own lunches. So you constantly hear solar eating its own lunch, and it's unprofitable to build another solar project. Hydrogen actually gives these opens up the possibility of so many more new projects just because of the possibility of seasonal shifting. It also allows us to achieve higher levels of the decarbonization based off renewable grids. So for example, hydrogen might be a competitor to nuclear energy and other baseload technologies. There is one more. Do you include grid balancing? There are several elements to this question. So the second element about this is the decarbonization of the gas grid. Um, I suppose that is somewhat tied to the idea of seasonal balancing with hydrogen. The question, of course, is does it make more sense to just do local clusters, local hydrogen clusters, which self-balance, or do you want to have a centralized gas grid like today and have some centralized storage sites and then distribute it all across your country or region, whatever? These questions, and this segues really nice to the final element of this question, whether this course will take a policy or regulatory focus or technical focus. You cannot really approach the idea of a hydrogen economy without considering policy too, because policy is so important in driving investment decisions, and especially in these sort of grand infrastructure projects like decarbonizing the entire gas grid of a nation. So to answer the second question, yes, there will be an element considering the repurposing of gas networks, and we will come at this from of course the techno-economic side as well as the policy and regulatory side.
Yeah, to comment on that, I think a survey course, which is our intention here, a survey course kind of necessarily involves a higher level point of view than the in-depth technical view of each of these pathways of decarbonization. But we also a lot of our guest lecturers are coming from deeply technical backgrounds, and I hope to tackle at least the meaningful pieces of the technology. So with that, I want to turn the topic to the program. As you may know, we're here talking about the new hydrogen economy, a 4-week program that is coming up October 5 to 29. So we're going to be meeting 3 times a week, 3 1-hour meetings per week. All events are going to be at this time slot, 9 a.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. GMT. And I want to talk about like what is going to happen during this span of time. So each week there are going to be 2 lectures and 1 discussion section. And the lectures are going to be similar in format to what you just saw, slide decks, conversations, Q&A. With Naomi and other lecturers, we have a pretty dynamite slate of guest lecturers already, and we're still recruiting for a couple of slots. And I'm very excited about all of the content. In the discussion sections, there may be a little bit of, and we may invite a guest lecturer or 2, but for the most part, that will be more of an opportunity to digest and discuss the subject matter from the week. And we'll do a lot of that, and also to collaborate with and network with your peers in the program. I've always really enjoyed peer collaboration as a component of all of the most valuable educational programs in my life. And we're developing the program around that kind of peer collaboration. There will also be a project component to this program. And we hope to give you an excuse and a framework to apply this learning to your daily life and work if this subject matter is directly relevant to your work, or to take this subject matter and to find an area of interest to you and dive in deeper and produce some work that you yourself author, and to apply the work and not just be a passive ingester of knowledge coming to you through the screen. And then the final program elements are online tools. We have our partners at Terra.do, the program hosts, and enormous behind the scenes contributors to this program. Terra.do has a online courseware system that will be hosting all the recorded video lectures, and kind of like has a neat little bundle of the whole program on one page, and also some opportunities to discuss in a kind of a online space, like to post questions, post stuff that you're reading, discuss what's going on outside of the classroom hours. So those are the kind of elements of the program. I want to talk a little bit about who it is for. We get questions about this sometimes, and I think I have up here 2 screenshots of different programs that I personally have attended. This program is for, you might say that it's for folks who would attend a webinar like Green Hydrogen Technology 101, but also kind of someone who wants that, but also the next several chapters. And a different, I think a pretty different audience that actually, I think this, we did an assessment, and I think it's our point of view that this program will work equally well for people who are looking for something like the screenshot on the right. And this is of a colloquium, a kind of more academic kind of conference. This was like a 3-day Zoom call that actually happened this week, and I loved it. I attended, and it's really great content. And we are hoping to produce something that works really well for folks who might have attended that, or but you know, we hope to offer something that has a little bit more friendly user interface, I guess. That was a 3-day Zoom call, and it's pretty intense. And we hope to kind of put some more program elements on kind of what you might otherwise get at a hydrogen conference or colloquium or academic presentation. Yeah, I mean, the reality is that even folks who are, if you're deeply involved in this field and you research how to reduce, you know, how to reduce palladium load in fuel cells, you still don't know very much about whether we should use liquid hydrogen or ammonia for shipping hydrogen, and you still don't know about 90% of what people are talking about in the broader energy transition conversation. So it's our point of view that this program will work well for folks from a variety of audiences. And one thing I want to talk about also under the same heading of who it's for, I want to mention also what you will be able to do afterwards that you couldn't have before, because this is something that I think about sometimes when I'm developing programs. At my prior to this year, I spent most of the last decade working at Hack Reactor, a school for software engineers, which I started and taught there for several years and built a lot of programs there. And this program had the goal of it's for people who hope to get their first job in the field. And it prepares you to be able to do all the things that you need to get that job and succeed at that job. I think of this program as being for people whose daily work or whose current daily work or future daily work involves some kind of broad-based understanding of a clean energy transition, people who need to help make decisions and plans around accomplishing that, or people whose work, you know, sort of audiences that I've thought about are folks who start work at a hydrogen company and they are new to the field and they kind of want a broad-based perspective on how things work. Folks who work in authoring in the sustainability office at some city or town and are trying to understand how hydrogen fits into a sustainability transition. Folks who work at a clean energy investment firm and are interested in understanding the subject matter. Academics who have a deep and serious expertise in one relevant piece of subject matter and kind of want a broader, quick hit of exposure to what's happening in their broader field. So those are some of the audiences, and the superpower we hope to give them is to be able to make decisions and to accomplish their daily tasks with a broader base of understanding about how hydrogen fits into a clean energy transition. And I don't know why there's animation here. So the tuition is $795. There's an early bird special with a 25% discount, and that special ends today. So today is the last day for that early bird special. Please go out and sign on. It really helps us understand. For me as a program operator, it always helps to know that there are students coming in, or if there aren't. So we are trying to encourage people to sign up early so we know what's going on with enrollment. So please do take advantage of that. And I also just want to mention that we are really enthusiastic about having great students in the program, and regardless of their ability to pay. I think for everyone that's interested in running this program, I know I speak for myself and Liz Penny and Nebamir, we're interested in the subject matter, and we are interested in a clean energy transition and in a healthy, thriving environment and in serving students. And we don't want ability to pay to stand between great students and attending the program. So please apply regardless of your financial contexts. If your employer can't pay and this would constitute a hardship, please reply regardless. There's a question in the application about like, hello, do you need a partial or full scholarship? And just fill it in. And we will do our best to accommodate folks within our ability to operate the program at the same time. And what else is in my slide deck? I think that's the last slide of my slide deck. So that's everything we had to say about the program. And I want to turn the time to questions and answers. So Varun asked, what is the time commitment per week that I think this needs? So that we are structuring the program, as you know, there's 12 hours of classroom content. We're really structuring the program to work if that's all the time that you have. I mentioned that there's a final project component, and we have set up the final project so that it is a small enough lift that you can attend it within, such that you can accomplish it within, there's 2 discussion sections that are partially dedicated towards this final project, and there are 3 case study lectures, which we are marking as optional, which you might find not necessary depending on your geography and interests. You are also invited to attend everything and do the final project outside of those classroom hours. And I think that maybe the ceiling of the amount of time you could spend on this program is about 20 hours. Plus you can there will be a lot of links and studies that come up along the way, and you can go into, you can spend, you can make a full-time profession out of reading hydrogen news and studies and doing broader research. So yeah, and I also want to, LP, do you have any comments on that?
No, not right now, thank you.
Oh, okay. So yeah, thank you for the question, Varun. Any other questions from folks here? Feel free to unmute yourself and just jump in, or you are also welcome to put your question in the chat. I think this is so interesting. I'm going to screen share while I'm waiting for questions. I'm going to screen share just to see the answers that I'm getting so far. What is your current level of familiarity with the subject matter? I'm seeing a lot of 2s and 3s out of 5 in terms of self-assessment. Which of the following best describes you? Many folks work in sustainability, described broadly. Many folks work in hydrogen-related technologies, and then there's a smattering of other responses. Very interesting. We were wondering about the fee. To be honest, this is the first time we're running it, and we're just eyeballing what to do about it. So thank you very much for the input. Where did my chat go? I'm not seeing a lot of other questions right now. I do want to ask you folks. Oh, Liz Penny's raising her hand. What's up, LP?
Well, I just had one additional overall thought that comes from a little bit of a different, slightly different angle. But as I'm mulling over, so hi everybody, my name is Liz. I'm going to be teaming with Sean and Nivko in leading the program. One overall thought that I also had, this is a pretty pragmatic course as I understand it. Kind of coming packing with a nice amount of content, in a concrete package. But I also wanted to say, for me, I think also it's about spending a little bit of my October having a good time, or being in a container that's like enjoyable weekly. There's a lot going on right now. And one reason that I signed up for this project is because the collaborators, the leaders are fun. So I think there's a pragmatic element to the program, but I also wanted to say, I think that we're looking for folks who, don't have to be dialed in 127%, but who could benefit from a container where we're talking about viable material, but also having kind of a good time while we're doing it, So it's a different kind of voice or angle, but does that seem fair, Sean? Do you, Sean?
I really love that you called that out, because one of the things that I really love about a great educational experience is that it is just a very delightful human experience. And there's this very amazing symmetry between the best way to get human beings to learn is to make it just a really positive experience of coming together. And of course, there's a lot of subject matter expertise and specifics about how to design and deliver content that matter. But yeah, I really love creating that kind of program, and I'm glad that you're highlighting that aspect of what we do and how we do it. I want to take some time to ask questions from the audience, from attendees here. So you're here. You showed up to a program. You showed up to a 1-hour event titled Course Preview or something to that effect, and I would love to hear from you comments on. Did you come here? Give me a chat sidebar answer to did you come here for? Give me a number, 1 or 2. Did you come here for 1, general interest in the subject matter of hydrogen and not too interested in the October program, or 2, pretty interested in the October program and kind of trying to get a picture of what it would be like as a decision along the way? I'm looking for a 1 or 2 in the sidebar from attendees here. Great, I'm seeing a few answers. Another question that I have in the same flavor, please go on answering, is especially for those of you interested in the in a longer term, in a deeper dive on the subject matter. What is one thing that you would like to be able to accomplish in the future that you can't right now, or that you would like to improve at right now? I'm looking for a concrete task, or a project, or a decision or something like that. What is motivating you to study on this stuff more? And this would be a free-form answer, so I would love to. I'm gonna give folks a chance to volunteer. Please unmute yourself and just jump in if you're a volunteer. Otherwise, I'm going to pick. I'm gonna volunteer somebody. I'm gonna volunteer. Oh, Varun says motivation to look for ideas for a startup in this space. That's interesting. I want to volunteer Kate, if you don't mind. Kate, may I volunteer you to answer the question? The prompt here is, what is one thing, one task, or decision, or something like that that you would like to get better at? Is underpinned by subject matter expertise here. All right, I'm gonna take that as a sign from the Zoom gods that Kate is indisposed. I'm so pleased to have you all here. It's been a pleasure talking a little bit about hydrogen, clean energy, the environment, getting to know each other, and I'm so pleased to have you here. You're welcome to ask any further questions. I'm going to stick on for a few minutes, but I believe we reached the natural end of this course preview and Q&A. Thank you very much for coming, and I hope to see you in the program on October 5th. Interesting, Rick. Thank you for sharing. Thanks, Benjamin.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Bye-bye, everybody. I'm going to click the big red end meeting for all button. See you later.